StudyJesus.com presents Bible Stories, where biblical stories of the ages come alive.
We continue with our series of Bible stories from the Old Testament with another true story found in Genesis chapter 27, verse 46, through chapter 30, verse 24. And this one is entitled, Jacob's Wonderful Dream.
StudyJesus.com presents Bible Stories with your host, Dr. Joe Jackson. Stories directly from God's holy word, told in easy-to-understand story form that the whole family will enjoy, and featuring the work of a talented artist illustrating each week's story. Now gather the family because it's time for this week's Bible story.
After Esau found that he had lost his birthright and his blessing, he was very angry with his brother Jacob, and he said to himself, and he also told others, "My father Isaac is very old, and he cannot live long. As soon as he's dead, then I shall kill Jacob for having robbed me of my right." When Rebekah heard this, she said to Jacob, "Before it's too late, go away from home and get out of Esau's sight. Perhaps when Esau sees you no longer, he'll forget his anger, and then you can come home again. Go and visit my brother Laban, your uncle, in Haran, and stay with him for a little while until Esau's anger is past." Rebekah came from the family of Nahor, Abraham's younger brother, who lived in Haran, which was quite a long distance to the northwest of Canaan, and Laban was Rebekah's brother. So Jacob went out of Beersheba on the border of the desert and walked alone toward a land far to the north. One evening, just about sunset, he came to a place in the mountains more than 60 miles distant from his home. Since he didn't have a bed to lie down upon, he rested his head upon a stone, using it for a pillow. A stone would be a hard pillow, but Jacob was very tired, and soon he fell asleep. And that night, Jacob had a wonderful dream. In his dream, he saw stairs leading up from the earth up to heaven, and angels coming down and going up the stairs. And above the stairs, he saw the Lord God standing. And God said to Jacob, "I am the Lord, the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac your father, and I will be your God too. The land where you're living and lying all alone shall belong to you and to your children after you. And your children shall spread abroad over the lands east and west and north and south like the dust of the earth. And in your family all the world shall receive a blessing. And I'm with you in your journey, and I will keep you where you're going, and I will bring you back to this land. I will never, ever leave you, and I will surely keep my promise to you." And in the morning, Jacob awoke from his sleep, and he said, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I didn't know it. I thought that I was all alone, but God has been with me. This place is the house of God. It is the gate of heaven." And then Jacob took the stone on which his head had rested, and he set it up as a pillar and poured oil on it as an offering to God. And Jacob named that place Bethel, which in the language that Jacob spoke means the house of God. Jacob then made a promise to God, and he said, "If God really will go with me and will keep me in the way that I go, and will give me bread to eat, and will bring me to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God, and this stone shall be the house of God. And of all that God gives me, I'll give back to him 1/10 as an offering. And then Jacob continued his long journey. He crossed the river Jordan, he went through the mountains, and he journeyed beside the great desert on the east, and at last he came to the city of Haran. Beside the city was the well where Abraham's servant had met Jacob's mother, Rebekah. And there, after Jacob had waited for a time, he saw a young woman coming with her sheep to give them water. And then Jacob took off the stone that was over the mouth of the well, and he drew water from the well and gave it to the sheep. And when he found that this young woman was his own cousin, Rachel, the daughter of Laban, he was so glad that he wept for joy. And at that very moment, he began to love Rachel, and he longed to have her for his wife. Rachel's father, Laban, who was Jacob's uncle, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob's mother, gave a welcome to Jacob and took him into his home. And Jacob asked Laban if he would give his daughter Rachel to him as his wife. And Jacob said, "If you will give me Rachel, I'll work for you 7 years." And Laban said, "It's better that you should have her than that a stranger should marry her." So Jacob lived 7 years in Laban's house, caring for his sheep and his oxen and his camels. He loved Rachel so much that the 7 years seemed just like only a few days. At last the day came for the marriage, and they brought in the bride. According to the custom of that land, her face couldn't be seen because it was covered with a veil. So she was married to Jacob. But when Jacob lifted up her veil, he found out that it was not Rachel, the woman he loved, but her older sister Leah, whom Jacob didn't love at all. Jacob was very angry that he'd been deceived, though that was like the way in which he himself had deceived his father and cheated his brother Esau. But his uncle Laban said, "In our land, we never allow the younger daughter to be married before the older daughter. So keep Leah for your wife and work for me 7 more years, and you shall have Rachel also." In those times, men often had 2 wives, and sometimes even more than 2. Back then, no one thought it was wrong to have more than 1 wife. Although now, of course, it's considered wicked. So Jacob stayed 7 more years, 14 in all, before he finally received Rachel as his wife. While Jacob was living at Haran, 11 sons were born to him, but only one of those sons was the child of Rachel, whom he loved. That son was Joseph.
Precious memories, unseen angels, sent from somewhere to my soul.